My name is Bob Engler, and I'm the mayor here in the city of Thousand Oaks. And I wanted to welcome you all to this 911 emergencies in the 805. A lot of numbers, but it's a very important and appropriate thing that we do now to take some time and think about what we need to do to be prepared for any emergencies. If you are from Ventura County, you know that this area has more than its fair share of emergencies. Today, in partnership with Assemblymember Jacqui Irwin and in the city of Thousand Oaks, we're proud to offer this event to the community to be better prepared for the next events. I mentioned that this event is in partnership with Assemblymember Irwin. In Thousand Oaks, we just know her as Jacqui. She was on our council for 10 years and has served as our assembly member for the past 4 terms. And with that, I would like to introduce you all to our friend, Jacqui.
Oh, it is great to see everybody out and about, and I want to thank you, Mayor Engler. My office has always appreciated the partnership with the City of Thousand Oaks for this event. Throughout the years, we have shared vital information on facing all types of emergencies in our community. I would also like to thank all of you for taking time out of your Saturday to join us for this important event. Today, we will be getting the 411 on the severe drought that California is experiencing. With us are subject experts who can show us how and why we are experiencing California's worst drought ever. They will give us the update on what is happening with restrictions and answer some of the most urgent questions that we all have. But now let's introduce our Drought 411 panel. First, we have Julie Sayre Edmond, Senior Environmental Scientist with the California Department of Water Resources. Julie, please give us a couple of minutes before we begin the question segment on the state's perspective of what the drought means for us here in California.
Oh, okay. Real simple answer. So I actually specialize in urban landscaping, water use efficiency, so some of this is a little outside my expert area, but California is facing an unprecedented drought because we've basically lost a whole year's worth of rain and snow in the last 3 years because our precipitation was so low. And our population is nearly 40 million around there, so we have one of the most important agriculture economies and businesses in the world. So there's a lot of demands on our water, and the climate is changing. It's getting warmer and drier. We're not getting the snowfall that we normally get which runs off. Our soil moisture is dry. So we have a lot of issues to face, and I think we could do it together. We can solve them. It might take some changes, but we can solve them.
Thank you, Julie. Dan Drugan is the Manager of Resources for the Callegas Water District. I recently toured with Callegas and learned a lot about who provides our water. Dan, can you tell us about the vital information Callegas is relaying to its customers about this drought?
Yes, it's really simple, and the message is that there are not enough supplies to meet projected demands this year. I think it's really great that we have someone from the Department of Water Resources here because they are the operator of the State Water Project, and that's the imported water supply that our communities in the Conejo Valley and the Simi Valley area heavily depend on. So the key takeaway here for the folks in the room is that there are not enough supplies to meet normal demands. That's the reason why we have mandatory conservation right now in our surface areas.
All right, thank you, Dan. And now I would like to introduce you to the General Manager for the Las Virgenis Municipal Water District, Dave Pedersen. Dave, could you please tell us about the top priorities for Las Virgenis?
Thank you, Jacqui. Good morning, everyone. So I'm technically representing the 818, but we're close partners with the 805, so thank you for including me. So our district, Las Virgenis, we serve the westernmost part of LA County, and we abut against Thousand Oaks and Ventura County, and I'll share we have the same restrictions and challenges that you all have here. So this is a regional issue that we're facing. As Dan explained, we have really a historically low level of water supply from our state water project, and then couple that with the challenge we have in our region that we don't have local water supply. Generally that comes in the form of plentiful groundwater. So we are in our district also on watering restrictions 1 day a week. And so we'll talk more in the program about some of the strategies on how to manage through that. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Dave. And then next, Tammy Myers, Conservation Coordinator for California Water Service. Tammy, what can you tell us about California Water Service's response to the drought?
Yes, thank you very much. So our response currently right now is really being able to reach out to the community and kind of just do more of a hands-on approach with all of our customers. So we've actively been going out to our residents and being able to assist them with what their concerns are, as well as being able to promote the programs that we have to offer. And that also goes with our commercial customers as well, which I'll be doing a presentation on some of the programs that we have available for our customers.
Thank you, Tammy. And now from the Public Works Department of the City of Thousand Oaks, we have Nader Haderi, Deputy Public Works Director and City Engineer. Nader, you've heard everything that has been said so far. Can you tell us anything else about how the city is responding to the drought?
Thank you. Yes, and good morning. Yeah, the city is really all hands on deck on this issue. This is one of the most important issues that has faced the city in quite some time. And to that end, we've taken the initial steps we've taken, obviously, is to discontinue the use of fountains, stop turf irrigation on any non-essential turf citywide. We had already done that on our medians about 5 years ago on the previous drought, or 7 years ago actually it was. And in addition, this time, we're taking the additional measures. And in addition, the education and enforcement obviously is the most important thing. We've been putting changeable message board signs out to make people aware of the current water restrictions. We've sent mailers to every home. We've established a robust website, which we wanted to make concise and clear and not have any other information on there. So it's toakswater.org, which is listed there. And that's kind of your one-stop shop for all of your information, frequently asked questions, rebate opportunities, interior use, exterior residential business. So we've tried to build that, and we're adding to it weekly and daily as information comes up, as we see it may be beneficial to the residents and to the businesses in town. And also, we're really investing a lot of time and energy in collaborating with the other water purveyors, some of the ones on the panel here today, and also others, and looking at opportunities for regional water resources and collaboration, and finding a way to improve our situation here on water resources and reduce our reliance on the State Water Project.
Thank you, Nader. Now, we know the drought is affecting everybody in different ways, but something we need to keep in mind is fire season, which has turned into a year-round event. When things are dry, we know that there is a high propensity for fires. We have Jeff Shea, Thousand Oaks Division Chief from Ventura County Fire. Chief, does a drought affect Ventura County Fire, and how is your department preparing?
The simple answer is yes. The drought obviously impacts the fire department. Administratively, some things we've done is we're in the process of transitioning at all of our facilities to drought-resistant landscape. Our training, what we're doing is we're using the minimal amount of water to facilitate all of our training exercises and activities. And then operationally, we've implemented what's called in the fire service MIST tactics, which is minimal impact suppression tactics, and that is utilizing where we can hand tools and mechanized equipment to cut fire line, essentially to separate the burning fuel from the unburned fuel.
All right, thank you. And last but not least, we have Matt Kuba, Park Superintendent from Conejo Rec and Park District. Parks, it's always the fun people at the parks. Matt, we may forget how a drought can impact recreation and park areas. Can you tell us how your agency has been affected by the drought with a brief statement about what you're doing to mitigate its impacts?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. As the parks, we've always felt like we're the community's playground and play areas, and we really want to be your turf as well. In the past 7 years, we've eliminated over 70 acres of turf, converted it to drought tolerance, walking paths, exercise areas, and we feel like we've done a pretty darn good job with those things in saving water. Also, we've used technology with fertilizer injecting systems, which helps save water. We're doing a modified refurbishment on our turf this year, so we're using less water. And I really want to rely on you as the community to help us, because we have so many sprinklers, so many pipes, so many valves, and you all are out there using the parks, if you see a leak, if you see a sprinkler head that's spraying onto a sidewalk or someplace it shouldn't, please, please, please give us an immediate call so that we can adjust it. But we feel responsible to the community to, as we did through COVID, to be your space to use and play in.
So I guess just to follow up on that for both Matt and Nodder, if you did not give where should people report leaks or broken sprinklers or wet roads?
I know we get communication from the city, and I communicate back to the city. If you do see something pretty much anywhere, we'll communicate back and forth with each other and get out there. We consider it almost an emergency if there's a broken line or something. So you can call the Park District, you can go to our website, and we have a water page that shows you our water use month by month and has a reporting button on there, but calling is absolutely the best way for us.
Right, and for us, our website, that toakswater.org, has all the information on how to report. And the other thing I'll say that's a common theme for both the city and the Park District is the desire to keep our trees and our urban canopy, to survive this drought. And so there's been, quite a bit of focus on obviously the non-essential turf areas, but on the other side of the coin, really focusing on the tree canopy we have and providing those trees the water they need to survive this. And whether it be with water trucks or other special attention that we've been providing these trees, we recognize how critical they are of an asset to the community.
Right, and who on stage is offering here it says water rebates, but I guess water saving rebates, turf rebates or sprinkler rebates? Can you just tell us a little bit about the opportunities that are available?
Sure, yeah. So Cal Water, if you are a Cal Water customer, we have several rebates that are available.
I just want to interrupt for 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
Everybody is, I think, they're not necessarily clear on exactly who has what part of Thousand Oaks. So if you might just give that with your with description. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we are on we cover the Ventura side of Westlake, and then up to the North Ranch area. So we have approximately, I think it's like 19,000 customers and over 7,000 connections that we service. And so within our area, we actually provide rebates as well as free programs for our customers to be able to have somebody come out and evaluate their current irrigation system and do repairs if necessary, as well as offering the opportunity to install weather-based irrigation controllers that are, kind of the newer technology, but allows you to adjust and be able to make those necessary needs on your phone and or your computer. We also have rebates that are available as far as your outdoor and indoor devices, clothes washers. We've actually increased, we've doubled the amount of our rebate up to $300, so that way we can hopefully get rid of those high water wasting old clothes washers, as well as toilets that are in the homes as well, as we've also doubled those rebates as well. And then for our commercial customers, which would include common areas of HOA associations, churches, schools, cities, and community areas, we also have rebates that are available and programs to look at their water efficiency and see how we can assist with that.
Could I add just briefly to Tammy's statement is also if you go to bewaterwise.com, that is a great website that has a rich offering of rebates for both residential and commercial. I really encourage you all to visit your water agency's website directly for your own provider, because they do have unique programs for direct access to you like Cal Water does. But bewaterwise.com is a great website for everything from turf removal, toilet replacement, high efficiency clothes washers, and a lot more.
Do you have anybody else?
Yeah, we also have similar programs for Las Virginis, and we're on the LA County side. We have probably our best program is our irrigation controller program. We have a partnership with a company called Ratio, and they make an automated irrigation controller, and so we have a program for $99. We will get you a controller and actually install it for you and set it up. So really great program, good idea during the current drought.
And so do most of the agencies have somebody that could come to the home and let you know where the high water use might be? Because often we get the bill at the end of the month and we think we've been doing everything we can and it hasn't really decreased, but would you be looking for leaks, or what is the type of thing you would be able to offer customers?
Sure, that's really a good, actually probably the best thing to do if you're having high water use is we offer, and I suspect my colleagues offer the same, a home water audit or consultation where one of our employees or a contractor will come out to your home, help walk around your home, and really look at where you're using water and where are the best places for you to conserve water, save water. They will also help you find leaks, help you adjust your irrigation system, and also connect you with information on rebates.
Does anybody here use Ratio? Oh, we have one. It is really, it's an amazing sprinkler automation program. You put pictures of your different drip zones, and you can increase or decrease the amount of time depending if, if all your plants are dying, maybe you add a few minutes, and if everything seems to be going well, then decrease it. So if you're able to get it for that lower price and with some help, that does seem that it would be.
Can I add one other thing?
Sure, of course.
Sorry. So I also wanted to mention that we are also partnering with Flume, that is a water smart device that you can actually put onto your meter, which will detect the flow that's going through, and it will allow you to it gives you notifications on your phone or your computer if there's a usage that may be above what you're normally using. So if you were to go into this data and see that something's running at 3 o'clock in the morning and you have no sprinklers or anything on, it really gives you that insight as to how much water you're using on a real-time basis without it actually being a automated metering infrastructure. So that's available, and actually I believe that's available throughout all of the Thousand Oaks and Las Virginis area. So.
All right, I just one more question in that area. For a lot of, you're offering the low flow toilets and I guess now we could put the bucket in the shower, but a lot of us have already removed the turf and have already done all that with the last drought. So I saw the headline on the LA Times that we're not conserving as much as we need to, but there are many customers that have already made a lot of these water-saving devices. So I think there's, for many people, a frustration that they've done so much and still are trying to figure out how to reduce their water use more. I want to ask the big question, and Dan or anybody else that can chime in, if you could help kick off the conversation. How does the condition of our local snowpack affect the drought, and who declares a drought emergency?
Right, and that's great. And so local snowpack, the snowpack comes from Northern California. And I think about the panel 911 and the 805, and you're getting the 411 on drought. Well, I've got 3 other numbers for you. It's 333. We're in the 3rd consecutive dry year with our Sierra snowpack, and that was precipitated by the driest 3 months that we just had, January through March, in California history. And that has now resulted in the 3rd lowest delivery total from the State Water Project to our agencies in history. This is the worst drought that we've ever had since we started taking water from this system in the 70s. So I think it really speaks to how severe this drought is, and that we're prioritizing water for people, not necessarily ornamental landscaping. And so what we need to do together as a community is to get through this event by adhering to the 1-day-a-week watering restriction, doing everything that we can in and around our homes to conserve water. A lot of our agencies are taking targeted approaches by looking at those that are really egregious and excessive over water users to bring their use back to where we need it. And so we're going to continue to do that through the end of the year, because if we don't, the possibility of a no outdoor water use mandate is still very much on the table as soon as this fall. So the best thing that we can do now is come together as a community to conserve water as best we can to make sure that we can maintain the 1-day-a-week watering through the end of the year.
All right, and then I have a few random questions, and anybody can just raise your hand or speak up. Does the drought affect the quality of water we get?
Yes, it does. So when you have less flow, you're going to have a lot more constituents, pollutants and minerals and so on. So it will affect the quality. They also, usually if you have a surface water supply, the water probably is very good. But if they have to pull more groundwater, the water quality might be less because of minerals or even pollution, and they have to treat it more. They have to use more chemicals. And then also, when the water is very warm, like you've probably heard of algae warnings in some of the reservoirs that are cyanobacteria, which are a type of algae that it can cause poisonings of dogs and other animals. So it's a complicated thing, but you have to use a lot more chemicals, you use sources you may not normally need, and the water quality is less because it's more the constituents, the pollution, the normal background stuff in water is more concentrated.
I presume all the water is still safe to drink.
Oh, yeah, it's all treated. It just takes a lot more energy, a lot more chemicals to get it clean for human consumption, because there are minimum standards of all these constituents they can't exceed. So it just takes a lot more work. And, you know, an old, very outdated thing in biology is the solution to pollution is dilution. And it's terrible because that means you can pollute all you want, you just rinse it away. So, but it's basically true. When the water is very concentrated, there's just more stuff in it that has to be removed.
All right, I've heard from many of my constituents, I already conserve, what else can I do to help? Does anybody have an answer to that one?
That's that's probably the most common question we get. And, that is usually followed by, it's sort of unfair that everybody have to reduce by the same amount. And so one of the things we've been working hard on is we're really looking at eliminating the wasteful water use. And so for many of you who are here, the fact that you're here, you're engaged, you're probably not wasting water, but we have other customers who are. So we're not looking for all of our customers to reduce by the same amount. We're looking for those who really haven't made the changes that they need to really reduce their water usage. But in terms of what can everybody do, I think really just be more aware and engaged in how you use water. And I'm really happy to hear the Ratio system is helping, but there are a lot of tools now available with technology where you can see in real time how much water you're using, and you can throughout the day kind of know, oh, that's what happened, my irrigation went on, or something was happening at my house and maybe I'm having a leak, and just really be more engaged in how you use water and doing your best to conserve it.
Well, if you can fill out the cards, we'll do all the questions after. Yeah, we'll just go through these first, and there's questions over here. Okay, how does the drought severity depend on where I live?
So I can probably take a stab at that one. Communities that do not have local supplies, and give you an example, like Las Virginis, very limited in that ability. Also the Conejo Valley, Greater Conejo Valley, Thousand Oaks, Simi Valley areas depend really heavily on state water project supplies. So in a very dry drought year with our Sierra Snowpack, the communities that rely on state water project supplies are a little worse off than those communities that have more ample local water supplies. And so we contrast that with our neighbors, right? In Southern California, the other counties that aren't really facing the same restrictions, like San Diego, Orange County, they also have other supplies that they can draw on, as well as the Colorado River. Now, the Colorado River supply, as we know, is just as a precarious situation as the state water supplies. So long term, we have to think about other solutions for Southern California outside of our drought-stressed imported watersheds. So long-term solutions ahead.
All right, and what happens if I do not follow the water mandates that my water district has imposed?
Of course you point to me.
I think that you are taking the harshest
So
steps.
We have to have enforcement, and it's not something that we like to do as water agencies. Our job is to provide service, and that's what we try to do. But it is part of drought is that we do not have enough water supply for everybody. And when that happens, we need to be sure that everybody does their part. And I'll tell you, most everybody is indeed doing their part, but we do have customers who haven't quite gotten the message and need a little bit of extra push. And so we do all have enforcement. It's actually a required part of the emergency water shortage plan that we're under, and the 1 day a week watering that we're doing. We actually have to show that we are ensuring that people are following those rules. And so each of us and our agencies, we have restrictions, we have consequences, usually in the form of fines, that for non-compliance. And really those are a signal. our first go-to is really always to educate, let folks know what the rules are and the importance of following them. And then if they don't make the changes they need to, then there's a fine structure that escalates.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. Quite often what we find is that that first communication or education with the homeowner goes quite a long way. And in many cases, the irrigation controller is just set as a default for 7 days a week, or they've never, they haven't touched it in years, or they're not aware of really when their sprinklers are going off because it's going off overnight while they're asleep. So, more often than not, that first communication and collaboration with the homeowner will go a long way and get to the point where we like, which is to reduce that water wasting, reducing the overspray into the street and onto the sidewalks and so forth.
If I may, flow restriction is a really hot topic, and we've seen that in the news a lot. And I believe, Nodder, that the mayor has decided to test that out for the city, right? Is that correct? Maybe you can speak to that?
Yes, we at the City of Thousand Oaks, not unlike other agencies, has this kind of like last straw type of final step when we've, after the fifth warning and continual excessive and extreme water waste by a homeowner, we will have that option of installing a flow restrictor, which will still allow the health and safety use of the water inside the house for washing and cleaning and showering, but it will impair the sprinklers popping all over the yard for all times of the day. So we have installed it in a few locations to test it out, and we haven't put one on anybody's house yet, although the mayor has decided to help us as a test case, and he's going to be living with that through the weekend actually right now. So he looks freshly washed this morning, and I think it's proving its point that it's effective.
The shower still does work.
There you go. That's important.
All right, we're going to go a little more rapid fire because we've got a lot of interest here. So the first, we have when will the drought be over, and does climate change play a part in our current situation and the future of our communities?
Maybe I'll take a stab at that one really quick. So as we've seen, this is a long-term pattern with climate change. I don't think that one wet season here will bring us fully out of a drought, but it would be well welcomed if we did have some great storms come in. I don't think we're going to see a December like we did last year, where we had the snowiest month on record. So we all need to be prepared, I think, for another year of drought ahead.
And we need to remember, California is a Mediterranean climate. Dry summer and drought in the summer is totally normal. The severity is not normal for us. So we have to think in those terms that our climate is very similar to southern France and southern Africa and Australia. And Australia just emerged out of a 20-year drought. So we just have to realize that we cannot continue as if we have summer rain like on the East Coast. We need to come to terms with our California climate. That's why we live here, because we have these brilliant blue skies all summer long, one of the reasons. And we just need to embrace the reality of biology in our state, of the way the plants we should be growing and those kinds of things. So climate change seems to be a lot more severe. They have records going back hundreds and hundreds of years from tree rings, not from written records, but tree ring data. They can put a core into a long-lived tree, and they know by counting and looking at the tree ring size how wet these periods have been for trees in the past. So there's a lot of data going into understanding our climate in a long-term sense for hundreds, maybe even close to a couple thousand years, because we have those really long-lived trees that show that. So, but I think the biggest challenge for a lot of people, but I think the easiest solution is we just need to come to terms with our dry summers and our normally droughty climate, and just be prepared and be more resilient. And use the right plants.
All right,
Always.
Thank you. Chief, let's talk a little bit about fighting fires using minimal amounts of water. Is there enough water to fight fires in Thousand Oaks and throughout Ventura County? And can you talk a little bit more about mist techniques?
Sure, absolutely. The simple answer is yes, and we'll continue to work with all the agencies represented here on the panel and all the water companies, both locally and through the state, to ensure that we do have a sufficient amount of water for firefighting for emergency use continually. Additionally, the Ventura County Fire Department, some of the measures that we've taken as a direct result of the drought is our wildland and aviation unit are both currently fully staffed, which includes 3 permanent full-time hand crews, 3 bulldozers operators, and our 2 Firehawk helicopters are available for immediate deployment. We also have a contract helicopter, an additional Type 1 helicopter, which is capable of dropping 1,000 gallons of water per drop. That's provided by in a cooperative effort with Ventura County Fire Department and Southern California Edison. Internally, as we talked about a minute ago, mist techniques, again, where we can, again, our priority is life and the preservation of property as we're fighting brush fires or addressing any emergency. But where we can, and where the risk versus gain allows for it, we will implement those mist tactics that we talked about and utilization of hand tools as opposed to fighting the fire with water, and that'll lead to us cutting lines around the fire, physically removing the burning fuel from the unburned fuel.
All right, thank you. Well, we've I have what is the federal, state, and local government doing in response to the drought and CAL FIRE preparedness and resources, but it seems like we've covered a lot of that. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything on that.
Well, the state budget has included a couple $2 billion in drought response and resiliency projects to help communities all over California. There's still communities in California that have been so short of water that they almost live in a third world situation where water has to be trucked in or it's polluted. And so there's a lot of money going into that, but there's also a lot of effort into planning and getting people ready. And there's water shortage contingency planning being done by all the water suppliers. There's a whole program of county and rural drought relief where they go in and have come in to these regions and help people figure out how to plan and how to solve solutions on a local level. So there's a lot going on. A lot of infrastructure projects are happening. Maybe not as noticeable as building a new dam for a new giant reservoir, but a lot of groundwater storage. Groundwater, we have about 50 million acre feet of surface water storage in California, but they estimate groundwater could be something like 800 billion, or million, I'm sorry. So the groundwater and getting water back into the ground is hugely important all over California, even in rural, both in rural and in built up areas. So thinking of getting water back into the ground, it could be as simple as somebody redirecting the water off the roof into their garden instead of straight out to the street. So it soaks into the ground and moves into the waterways naturally and slowly, to big flood, what they call flood mar, manage aquifer recharge. So there'll be areas where they farmland or other unused, unpaved areas where they collect water and let it soak in and recharge the aquifers. So there's a lot of work going on. Canal linings and recycling water plants are being built, and all kinds of things are happening. So it's not that just because there's no giant reservoirs being built right now, that's not that the state is, or even in many locals, or we're doing a lot of work on very different kinds of projects to augment supply and to secure supply for long term.
So I get this, just to kind of continue on that. Ventura County has been very good over the last number of years at receiving grants to increase water supply. So there's been an incredible amount of work done on, first, even if you look at our wastewater plant, cleaning water, using recycled water. In Thousand Oaks, they're looking at groundwater desalinization. And those projects are going on all over Ventura County, and we really have decreased our complete dependence on the state water project when we are able to do those projects. But I often get questions of why don't we do ocean desal, or why don't we build more storage? And I will. My quick answer is always, we want to make sure also that we keep the water prices as low as possible. So you have to do everything that's low-hanging fruit first. So water recycling is really the cheapest thing, and groundwater desal is cheaper. Once you talk about ocean desal, there's a very, very high energy usage with that. But maybe you could, a little bit more in depth, why are we not doing or any of you, why are we not doing ocean desal, for instance, in Ventura County? We're doing some good water purification projects. And go a little bit more into the reservoirs, because that's a big point of contention. I think the sites is sort of moving along, but I think it would be good to clarify that for people that are sitting here.
So desal is very expensive, as you said, to run. Energy-wise, it takes complicated technology to pull salt out of water. It takes a lot of energy. And ocean, we do have this great ocean right here, but it is, you know, you have an issue with returning brine to the ocean, and which is super salty water, and it's poisonous, so to sea life. So there is that issue, but it's also the expense. It's very, very expensive. Saving water that we already have, that we're wasting, I don't mean doing without, but just saving water that we would normally be in our average way of doing things, we waste a lot of water and a lot of energy that's already put into that water. So it may not be feasible in most places, plus the topography, you know, you can use it maybe on communities right on the coast, but it's really hard to get it pumped inland because you got to pump it over mountains, which only increases the energy cost. Desal works in certain parts of the world, like Saudi Arabia or in Israel, because they have no other choice. They have no other source of fresh water. And in the case of Saudi Arabia, they're energy rich. It may not pencil out for them, but they have no other choices. We do have lots of choices in California. And storing and just saving the water that we already have is the biggest potential of all. So the reservoirs, I did do some reading to make sure I had some accurate information, and they're all about 70% average right now of what they should be. That's got to carry us through the rest of summer until the next water year starts in October. We have, California has over 1,200 reservoirs, so people only think of the major big ones. So we do have a lot of surface storage, and there's not many places left to build reservoir sites. Is one in the planning stage. It's what they call off-stream. So it's a valley that's going to be dammed up, but it's not a natural river channel. And it would take, if it was built, it would take excess flows that come out of the Sacramento River, basically anything that Shasta can't hold would go into sites. So it would be an important augmentation to our system, but it's only going to hold, you know, a couple million acre feet, which is a lot of water, but not in the great scheme of things. So I think we just have to think of all the, it's a portfolio approach. There's no one good solution. So that's where we're at. We have reservoirs all over the state. Most of them are on river channels. So it depends on the snow and the rain above them for them to fill.
Right, thank you for that. Okay, we have a few more quick, and then we're going to start getting to the questions from the audience. Matt, can you tell us how the drought has affected recreational activities, and what about the damage to the turfs, to the grass, if we have no outdoor water?
Well, if any of you hike, you know that the open space has changed dramatically. I'm also in charge of the park rangers and the trails and maintenance in the open space. So if you've been on the whole access trail off of Green Meadow, we've lost over 75 oak trees in that area in the last 3 years and continue to lose large plants throughout. So the effects are there in open space, definitely. If we go to a zero water situation on the play fields, we consider each one of our play fields to have a value to the community of about $1 million each. We have 54 play fields, soccer fields, baseball fields, et cetera. And to lose those, if the water's shut off, the weeds will still grow. So we're going to have to be out there maintaining it. And so we're debating on what we can do in a zero situation, whether we go through and remove all the heads and the kids play on dirt, or we leave the heads there and we put a couple layers of sand on top of it and let the kids play on sand. We're not sure how it's going to end up, but and then the recovery, we figure would be $250,000 to $500,000 a field. So if we get to a zero situation, it's gonna be really, really tough.
All right. Nodder, what about pool restrictions in Thousand Oaks? Do you see any changes in the future? And then I just also, I had, the restriction is you're supposed to be covering your pool. I had a neighbor tell me if you cover the pool, it gets really warm, and then the evaporation is quicker when you take the cover off. So what was the decision, how was the decision made to recommend pool covering?
Yeah, so currently, pool construction and pool permits are still permitted and still allowed, and the concept of that is more often than not, those pools are being installed into a turf area, which is even thirstier than a pool is, and a covered pool uses quite less water than a comparable turf area. An uncovered pool, however, uses just about as much water as turf, so that's why it is critical to cover the pool. You really, not only are you saving water, but you're saving yourself quite a bit of money in your monthly water bill and having to kind of continue to refill the pool every week to maintain that level. So that's the current concept and where things are. If the drought significantly worsens and the water situation worsens and we're in this 0-day outdoor watering scenario, then in our water shortage contingency plan, at some point, pool construction may be on hold. But for the time being, it is still permitted. And as we've seen with a lot of people with investing in their house and recreating, and COVID has changed a lot of patterns for people, so we're seeing that the pools are being used a lot more than they used to be, and it's kind of more of an exercise and athletic venture, not only for the kids but for the whole family. So we understand the importance of them and the value that they have, and so that's the thought process.
All right, thank you. How about the use of recycled water, potable to reclaimed irrigation? Where is it, and who can use it? I know we have some play fields. I see a lot of areas in Callegas that are using recycled water.
Right, so maybe I'll start, maybe Dave can come in after me, but one of the things that we're looking at, because the drought has been so severe, is how can we truck in recycled water, if needed, to certain areas that the city is currently irrigating with potable water. We could probably certainly look into that with our parks districts as well. But that is the challenge, right, is its geography. So where does the recycled water exist, right? And for the community here in Thousand Oaks, all of that goes downstream to the Hill Canyon wastewater plant, and then after that goes to Camarosa Water District. So very limited, right, in your ability to serve recycled water. I know Las Virginis, our neighboring agency, does have a very robust recycled water system that they're currently using to irrigate areas. Dave, do you want to comment on that?
Sure. We're fortunate. We were early adopters in recycling. We started in the 70s, and so most of our communities have, dual piping. We have the potable water system and the recycled water system. All of our parks, our green belts, our HOA common areas, cemeteries, and schools are pretty much all on recycled water. But recycled water, of course, is still available, but it comes also with some limitations as well. We don't have an unlimited supply of recycled water. That water is really the product of the wastewater that came from inside all of your homes. And so we are also needing to conserve recycled water. Not quite to the same extent as potable water, but we're also needing to not waste recycled water. It is a great resource for us. It has helped a lot in keeping a lot of our parks, especially green for now. We do have times in the summer where actually recycled water, we actually use every single drop, and we actually have to supplement the system with potable water. And so we are calling on our customers that use recycled water to be efficient, eliminate waste as well. I should mention too, we have a joint powers authority, and so we have a partner, the Triumphal Water and Sanitation District, that is in the 805, and they also purvey recycled water in the community here. The most common question we get on recycled water is, can I get recycled water piped to my house? And everybody, and I think everybody thinks, well, that's going to be the panacea so I can keep everything green. It really isn't, unfortunately. And the challenge there is really more of a public health one, in that recycled water and potable water, there's really strict regulations about keeping those two systems separate. And so it's generally not practical to try to plumb an existing house and retrofit it so that it gets recycled water. So our recycled water is really being used for our larger areas like our schools and our parks and our cemeteries.
Thank you.
And here in Thousand Oaks, I think Triumphal Park and North Ranch Park are fed with recycled water right now. And so the cities, as Dan mentioned, the city's Hill Canyon treatment plant, which treats 8 million gallons a day of wastewater from the community of Thousand Oaks, from the majority of Thousand Oaks. That water is currently already being recycled and being reused downstream by the Camarosa Water District, which is offsetting their need to otherwise, which they otherwise would need to purchase potable water. So regionally, it is reducing the demand of potable water and has been for several years. We've had a partnership with them, and as Dan mentioned, that's so far down the grade, that's in the Santa Rosa Valley. So trying to deliver that water back up into Thousand Oaks would be quite impractical and costly, and it's already being recycled.
All right, we'll try to go through these additional questions rapidly. We have a question about trees, outside trees that nobody wants to die. So what is the best way to keep those, how do we make sure that our mature trees are getting enough water?
Yeah, maybe I'll quickly start on that one. I mean, yeah, the trees, and as we alluded to earlier, they're quite a critical asset. They keep the heat island effect. They provide shade and cooling for the community, and they obviously they're a signature of these communities that we all live in. So keeping them alive is critical. Hand watering is permitted in addition to your normal how many days per week that your water agency allows. And for the most part, the established and climate suitable trees, such as the oak trees in town here, don't require 7 days a week of watering or any of that. So they do require some water, but and although some of them on the hillsides don't require really any because they've been there for hundreds of years, but the ones you have in your house will survive with limited watering as long as you keep an eye on them and provide the watering. There is some calculations you can make depending on the diameter of the tree and how many gallons a week it needs. So you can look up those resources and augment the other watering that the tree's normally getting with your irrigation system with some hand watering.
And go to the Master Gardeners or look at bewaterwise.com. There's a lot of tips on how to retrofit an irrigation system so you can put a dripper line or soaker hoses or something. Trees that have been growing in lawn are usually shallow rooted, and they need to learn how to put their roots down to deep water. So you need to start watering them differently. If you're not watering the grass, but the trees still need water, you need to water the tree. Not near the trunk unless it's a very young tree. You need to water out towards the drip line and beyond where the roots are. So I would recommend you going to these reputable sources like the Master Gardeners. I'm a Master Gardener too. And in a northern county, or bewaterwise.com, or some other really good reputable sources from agencies and education institutions that will give you some really good information. Some of the better irrigation manufacturers have stepped up into creating resources on their websites to show people how to design for irrigation for trees. And remember, as they transition to a less frequent schedule, you'll water them longer, deeper, but not allow runoff. And you kind of have to retrain them to live the way they should have lived to begin with deep roots. So there's a lot of work, a lot of good work has been done, and a lot of good resources out there. Right?
You said something about hose.
Oh, well, dripper line irrigation, which is a semi-rigid tubing with the emitters already built into it in the manufacturing plant, and all the manufacturers, Rainbird and Hunter and Toro and other brands have that. And the emitters are already in the tubing, and it's spaced at 12 or 18, 24 inches apart, and you can get an adapter. You can plug off all your sprinklers to your lawn, and except one or two, and adapt it with a little screw-in adapter, and then tubing connects to your lawn sprinkler in-ground system, and you can irrigate the tree. You just run it around in the drip line area of the tree.
I just want to, maybe
Yeah.
you can ask after.
Yeah,
because we need to
that's
make
a
sure.
complicated
Yeah.
one, but the master gardener should be able to help
Yeah,
you
the
too.
master gardeners will be coming here at 11:45, so hopefully they can give you a thorough answer on that. I have a couple of questions on right now. The water restriction is 15 minutes on the weekend per drip station. Why not allow 9 minutes and 6 minutes was the question, or what, some other way to divide it so you're watering twice a week? Do any of the water agencies have answers for that?
Maybe I'll start. So the 15 minutes limitation for outdoor watering, that's going to change. It's going to ramp down to 10 minutes. And the reason for that is so that we align with Metropolitan Water District's requirement for what that 1 day a week mandate should be. We all need to be very efficient with that 1 day a week of watering. And so the 10 minutes will go into effect, and I defer to Nader on when that might occur and how the city is implementing its outdoor restrictions right now.
Yeah, that's new information, and that's, looks like that might be happening on September 1st. But for the time being, that watering day you have does allow you the opportunity to split the watering. If you don't want to do all 15 minutes right at that station, right in that same 15 minutes, you can do 8 minutes in the morning and then 7 minutes at night. So you can, at 6 a.m. you could water, and then you could do it again at 10 p.m. So you are able to split things up a little bit. But the general response as to why 4 days a week at 4 minutes isn't allowed is because that would not provide any means of really monitoring or tracking or get us to where we really need to be. I mean, it is an emergency. It's not, hey, it'd be great if we can all save a little bit of water. It's, as we've seen and with the information and the limited water supplies, it's more severe than that type of situation, and that's what's prompted this 1 day per week restriction.
All right, why is artificial turf not eligible for rebates, or is it right now?
So again, I'll jump in on that one. So the policy goal of the turf replacement program was to have a certain landscape aesthetic, and that's with drought-tolerant plants, native plants. Artificial turf does not align with the policy goals that were established by the Metropolitan Water District for the turf replacement program. So if you have any issues with that, you could write letters to the Metropolitan Water District, but that is currently, what we have now is to promote that landscape change, that transformation to the drought-tolerant aesthetic, which is what that program is all about.
Although I might argue that that was not their goal before when they were offering rebates in the last drought, because we have plenty of people that have artificial turf, but okay, it's not offered anymore. So just because a lot of people, I don't want them to feel like they're doing the wrong thing if they have artificial turf. All right, what is the normal amount per month for 2 people or a family of 4, please, water use? Or what is allowed?
So I'll start. It's hard to answer that question because it's going to vary a lot depending on your property. But generally in California, we have, a indoor standard of 55 gallons per person per day. So, a 2-person family would be, 100 and 110 gallons per person per day. And that would be basically for your indoor needs. If you have a small property, you would need some additional water to support your outdoor needs.
All right, and then we have a question from Matt Jacobs, who's standing right over there. What should the federal government do or stop doing to address the ongoing water crisis?
Good question. I mean, that's a tough one, but I think without a doubt that the situation and the water challenge and emergency we're facing has to be handled at the local, state, and federal level. We need everybody to pitch in here. This is a big deal. And from the federal government, I think the best support we can get is funding, federal funding to help support our local projects. So all of our agencies here, we are all working on projects that are ambitious, they're large, in many cases the largest projects that we've ever undertaken. They involve partnerships between our agencies, unlike we've ever done before, but we need help to build those projects and also help to offset the cost. So the federal government can provide that help in the way of funding. Most of that comes through the Bureau of Reclamation, and they do have really great funding programs, but every year the Congress needs to reauthorize those programs in their annual appropriations process, and every year there is a dance where those programs are cut and then they're restored, and so we really need strong support at the federal level to keep those programs and even up them.
Another thing that affects every one of us in the room is the federal standards for appliance efficiency, water efficiency for equipment, washing machines, dishwashers, and so on. So they set the minimum standards through the WaterSense label and Energy Star for efficiency for appliances, toilets, all the water-using fixtures and appliances that we all have in our homes and businesses. So, and they also need appropriation for the WaterSense program to continue for research and standard setting. So that's something else we should support too, because that's why new homes are more efficient than old homes, is because of all the low-flow toilets and the efficient washing machines and dishwashers and shower heads and so on.
Right. Tankless water heaters, is that something that is recommended by water agencies?
So I don't have a lot of knowledge on tankless water heaters, and we do not offer a rebate at this time.
I guess the
but-
question is does it make enough of a difference that you offer a rebate on that?
Yeah, we do not offer, at this time, we do not offer a
I
rebate.
think they're better for saving energy rather than water, because
Okay.
it's on demand, you heat the water you need, and then you're done, rather than having a tank sitting there hot all the time, 24/7.
We did put a bucket in both of our showers, and it's amazing how much water that we collect. So, real quick showers, I think, is probably also recommended. So our final question is about, we have a lot of good questions here. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them. As I mentioned, at 11:45, we'll have the Master Gardeners here. And then there's a lot of, everybody here has a booth upstairs, I understand. So your questions that didn't get answered, you can make sure to go upstairs. Is there anything that we can, about gray water collection? So we've talked about cities recycling. What about recycling the gray water in the home? And are there companies that specialize in that? Does the city have standards for it? Is there anything that we can learn about that?
Yeah, there are certainly some specific building permit issues associated with that, just for, health and safety reasons. What we've found is that those obviously work a lot easier with a new construction, a new home. Retrofitting an existing property is challenging, depending on where your laundry room is and so forth, and how that is plumbed to the rest of the house. So what we've found is that it's quite complicated and expensive for a homeowner to go through and try to retrofit in that scenario, and then that water that comes out, what portion of the yard may or may not be able to be used with it. So because of those limitations, we haven't seen a tremendous amount of usage of it. And as I mentioned, with a new house, there's probably more opportunities, or a complete renovation of the house, then you can maybe explore that. But we really haven't seen too much of that yet.
All right.
So in really old homes where you're on raised foundation, it's a lot easier. So depends. New and very, very old, it's easy. And gray water is encouraged. It's in the California Plumbing Code in Chapter 15. And if it's possible, we encourage the use of it. If it's legal everywhere, unless there's some specific reason why it's been locally outlawed. But I encourage people to explore it if you think you have a way to either divert your washing machine water or from your shower water.
Really appreciate all of you being here. Can we give a big round of applause to our panelists?